They say the quality of your life is measured by the quality of your conversations. Think about it. Every opportunity you've ever had, every relationship you've built, every door that's opened or closed for you, all of it came down to one thing: how you communicate. But here's the truth. Most people think they're good communicators when in reality they're just talking. Communication is not about filling the air with words. It's about connecting. It's about understanding. It's about leaving people feeling seen, heard, and valued. And that's what this audiobook is about. In the next few chapters, you're going to learn practical, simple, and powerful ways to transform how you express yourself. Whether you're in a meeting, on stage, talking to a friend, or texting someone you love, you'll discover how to listen so people open up to you, speak so they want to listen, and connect so they never forget you. So, give me a few minutes and I'll give you skills that can change not just your conversations but your entire life. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Why communication is the key to everything. Let me ask you something. If you could master one skill that would instantly improve your career, your relationships, your confidence, and your influence, what would it be? Some might say leadership. Others might say sales. Some might say emotional intelligence. But here's the twist. Every single one of those skills depends on one thing: communication. Think about it. You can have the best ideas in the world, but if you can't explain them clearly, they'll never leave your mind. You can be the most skilled professional in your field, but if you can't make people trust and connect with you, opportunities will slip right through your fingers. In fact, if you look at history, every great leader, every game-changing entrepreneur, every movement that changed the world, started with words. Words that inspired. Words that connected. Words that moved people into action. Why communication isn't just talking. Here's the first truth you need to understand. Communication is not just talking. It's not about saying a lot. It's about making what you say matter. Talking is output. Communication is connection. You've probably met someone who talks endlessly but never actually says anything valuable. And you've probably met someone who speaks just a few words, yet those words stay with you for years. The difference? Connection. One of the best-selling books on relationships, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, says, "The royal road to a person's heart is to talk about the things he or she treasures most." That's what real communication does. It reaches the heart. It's not just about transferring information. It's about creating understanding. The real reason communication is everything. Let's break it down in 3 simple ways. Opportunities flow through people. No matter how talented you are, your next big break will almost always come through someone else. A conversation, a referral, a recommendation. Communication is the bridge between you and that opportunity. Trust is built through words and actions. Think of a leader people follow willingly. It's not just because of their position. It's because they can paint a vision so clearly that people can see themselves in it. Trust isn't automatic. It's earned through consistent, clear, and respectful communication. Conflict is resolved by communication. In life and business, misunderstandings will happen. The difference between relationships that last and those that fail often comes down to how people talk through those misunderstandings. Silence can break trust, but the right conversation can rebuild it. Let's imagine 2 professionals, Alex and Jordan. Alex is incredibly talented but prefers to let the work speak for itself. Alex avoids meetings, doesn't speak up much, and keeps communication short. Jordan is also talented but takes the time to explain ideas clearly, listens to colleagues, asks thoughtful questions, and builds genuine connections. Now, when a new project comes up, who do you think the boss will trust to lead it? Most likely Jordan. Not necessarily because Jordan is more skilled, but because Jordan is seen, heard, and trusted. That's the power of communication. It multiplies your visibility and your opportunities. Think about one of the most respected world leaders of the past century. They didn't unite people through force. They united them through words. They had the ability to make people believe in something bigger than themselves. That's the secret. They weren't just talking to people, they were talking for people. They made people feel understood, valued, and part of something meaningful. Why many people struggle with communication. Most people think communication is natural. You open your mouth and speak. But in reality, effective communication is a skill that must be learned, practiced, and refined. Here's why many people get it wrong. They focus on speaking, not listening. They think clarity comes from using big words, when in truth clarity comes from simple words. They make conversations about themselves instead of the person they're talking to. And here's the tough truth. People don't remember every detail of what you say, but they never forget how you made them feel. The Golden Circle of Communication. In his book Start With Why, Simon Sinek explains something powerful. The most influential communicators don't start with what they do, they start with why they do it. The same applies to you. When you communicate, ask yourself, why should they care? Why does this matter to them? Why am I saying this right now? If your words have purpose, they'll have power. How to start improving your communication today. Let's make this actionable. Be present in every conversation. Put your phone down. Look the person in the eye. Listen without planning your reply in your head. Ask more questions. Good communication isn't about talking more. It's about understanding more. Questions make people feel valued and heard. Use stories. Facts tell, stories sell. People connect with personal experiences, examples, and analogies. Watch your body language. Your posture, facial expressions, and tone carry more meaning than your words. Stand tall, smile genuinely, and speak with warmth and with clarity. Before you leave a conversation, make sure both sides are clear on what was discussed and what's next. The emotional side of communication. We often underestimate the emotional weight of communication. A single sentence can inspire someone to take a life-changing step, or it can discourage them for years. This is why communication is more than a career skill. It's a life skill. It's the thread that weaves relationships together. It's the bridge that carries you from where you are to where you want to be. If we were sitting together right now in a coaching session, I'd lean in and tell you this. Your next breakthrough, whether it's in love, work, or personal growth, will almost certainly come through a conversation. The question is, will you be ready to have it? Communication is not optional, it's foundational. It shapes how people see you, trust you, and remember you. Every word you speak is either building a bridge or burning one. Choose your words with intention. Over the next 24 hours, I want you to practice active listening with at least one person. Don't interrupt. Don't think about what you're going to say next. Just listen and watch how they respond differently. I want to hear from you in the comments. What's one conversation you've had that completely changed your life? And remember, if you've found this chapter valuable, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Like this video to help more people discover it, and share it with someone who needs to hear this today. Because the better we communicate, the better our world becomes. Chapter 2. The first rule. Listen to understand, not to reply. Have you ever been in a conversation where you could literally see the other person waiting for you to pause, just so they could jump in with their own story, their own opinion, or their own argument? It feels like they weren't really listening, they were just waiting for their turn to speak. Now here's the truth most people don't like to hear. We've all been that person. Yes, you, me, all of us. At some point we've listened with our ears but not with our mind. We were hearing but not truly understanding. And that's why this chapter exists. Because one of the most powerful shifts you can make in your communication is learning this skill. Listen to understand, not to reply. Why this rule changes everything. When you truly listen to understand, something magical happens. You stop focusing on your answer and you start focusing on their meaning. You're no longer racing ahead in your mind, preparing what you'll say next. Instead, you're fully present in their world, seeing things from their point of view. Stephen R. Covey, in his best-selling book The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, put it perfectly. Most people do not listen with the intent to understand, they listen with the intent to reply. That sentence is a mirror. It forces us to look at how we approach conversations. If you master the habit of listening with the intent to understand, you automatically become more likable, more trusted, and more persuasive. People feel safe opening up to you because they know you're not just waiting to correct or outsmart them. The power of feeling understood. Think about the last time you felt deeply understood. Maybe it was a friend who truly got what you were going through. Maybe it was a mentor who listened without interrupting. How did it make you feel? Probably lighter, calmer, respected, valued. This is why listening to understand is such a powerful communication skill. It's not just about words, it's about emotions. You're not just processing information, you're giving the other person the gift of being heard. And here's the interesting part. When people feel heard, they become more open to hearing you. This means that by putting your reply on hold, you're actually setting yourself up to be listened to more attentively when it's your turn to speak. Let's imagine two managers having the same conversation with their team members. The first manager interrupts every time the employee speaks, constantly finishing their sentences and quickly offering solutions without letting them explain the full problem. The employee leaves the meeting frustrated, feeling dismissed and undervalued. The second manager listens silently, nodding occasionally, asking clarifying questions like, "So, if I understand correctly, what you're saying is," or, "Tell me more about what happened after that." The employee leaves feeling supported and understood, even if the final decision is the same. Same conversation but two completely different outcomes, because of one factor: listening style. There's a famous story about a world leader known for his sharp mind and decisive action. Yet what made people truly respect him wasn't his speeches. It was his ability to listen. He had a habit of leaning forward, making eye contact, and not saying a word until the other person was finished. Often he would pause for a few seconds before responding, just to ensure he had truly processed what was said. Many political allies said they felt more respected by him in private conversations than they did in public recognition, because in those moments, they knew they had his full attention. That's the effect deep listening has. It turns even brief interactions into lasting impressions. How to listen to understand. Be fully present. Put your phone face down. Turn away from your computer screen. Let the other person see that they have your full attention. Hold your reply. Resist the urge to jump in with advice, counterarguments, or your own story. Remind yourself, my job right now is to understand, not to win. Ask clarifying questions. Phrases like, "So what I'm hearing is," or, "Can you tell me more about," help you confirm that you're actually getting the right message. Listen with your eyes. Communication isn't just about words. Notice their body language, tone, and facial expressions. They can tell you what the words alone might not reveal. Reflect before responding. When they finish speaking, pause. Give their words a moment to sink in before you share your thoughts. If we were in a live session right now, I'd give you this challenge. For the next 24 hours, in every conversation you have, practice listening without mentally preparing your reply while the other person is talking. It sounds simple, but you'll quickly realize how often your mind tries to race ahead. Catch yourself. Pull your focus back. Stay in their sentence, not yours. What happens when you don't listen to understand? Here's the harsh truth. When you only listen to reply, you send a silent message. My thoughts are more important than yours. You may not mean it that way, but that's how it feels to the other person. And over time, people will stop sharing openly with you. They'll keep conversations short. They'll turn to someone else for advice or support. But when you do listen to understand, the opposite happens. People trust you more, share more, and respect your words more deeply. Picture a married couple arguing. Partner A says, "I feel like you never have time for me anymore." Partner B immediately replies, "That's not true. I've been working late to provide for us." Notice what happened. Partner B replied to defend themselves, not to understand the real emotion behind the words. If Partner B had listened to understand, they might have said, "So you're feeling neglected? You miss spending time together." Now the focus shifts to empathy, not defense, and the conversation has a chance to heal instead of escalate. Why this rule is a secret weapon in leadership. In leadership, negotiations, or even sales, listening to understand is a superpower. When people feel you understand their needs, they are far more likely to follow your advice, agree to your terms, or buy into your vision. You're not just making them hear you, you're making them want to hear you. A quote to remember. As the ancient Greek philosopher Epictetus once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." It's a simple reminder. The best communicators are not always the best talkers. They are the best listeners. Key takeaways from this chapter. Listening to understand builds trust, respect, and deeper connections. Most people listen to reply. Be the person who truly listens. Use clarifying questions to ensure you grasp the real meaning. Hold your response until the other person has completely finished. Deep listening makes people more open to hearing you in return. Today I challenge you. In your next 3 conversations, practice listening without planning your reply. Just listen. Ask one clarifying question. See how the other person reacts, and how the conversation changes. If you found this chapter valuable, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Hit the like button to let me know this is helping you, and share this audiobook with someone who needs to hear it. Your next conversation could be the one that changes everything. Chapter 3. Body language speaks louder than words. If I asked you, what is the first thing people notice about you when you walk into a room? Most people would say, my clothes or my face. But the truth is, before anyone notices what you're wearing, before they hear a single word come out of your mouth, they've already read you. They've read your posture. They've read your facial expressions. They've read your energy. Psychologists say that more than 60% of our communication is nonverbal. That means in many situations your tone of voice, facial expressions, and body movements carry more weight than the actual words you say. Think about it. Have you ever been in a conversation where someone said, "I'm fine," but everything about their crossed arms, tense jaw, and distant eyes screamed, "I'm not fine at all"? That's the power, and sometimes the problem, of body language. Why body language matters more than words. One famous example is from a notable world leader who was known for his calm and confident presence during high-pressure situations. Even when facing criticism, he stood tall, shoulders relaxed, with a steady gaze that told the audience, "I am in control." His words mattered, yes, but people remembered how he made them feel through his posture, hand movements, and facial expressions. The human brain is wired to detect small cues. Even before language was developed, humans communicated through gestures, expressions, and movements. Our survival depended on reading whether someone was a friend or foe, just by looking at them. Today we might not be running from wild animals, but we are constantly reading people in job interviews, business meetings, first dates, and even casual encounters. The way you sit, the way you stand, the way you look at someone, all of these silently tell your story. The silent signals you send without realizing. Here are a few nonverbal signals you might be sending without even knowing it. Posture. Slouching can suggest low confidence or disinterest, while standing tall with an open stance says you're confident and approachable. Eye contact. Too little can make you seem untrustworthy, too much can feel intimidating. The sweet spot is maintaining eye contact for about 60 to 70% of the conversation. Gestures. Using your hands while you speak can make you seem more passionate and engaging, but overdoing it can feel distracting. Facial expressions. A genuine smile can be more powerful than any icebreaker. A frown, even when unintentional, can push people away. Proximity. Standing too close can invade personal space. Standing too far can feel distant or uninterested. These are the unspoken sentences of your communication. The science behind it. In the definitive book of body language by Alan and Barbara Pease, they explain that body language is an outward reflection of your emotional condition. If you're nervous, your shoulders might tense up. If you're confident, your chest opens naturally. This means one of the fastest ways to feel more confident is to act more confident. Your mind and body are deeply connected. Change one and you can influence the other. In fact, Harvard researcher Amy Cuddy became widely known for her power pose study. She found that standing tall with your shoulders back for just 2 minutes can increase testosterone, the confidence hormone, and lower cortisol, the stress hormone. In other words, you can fake it till you make it, and your body will eventually follow. How to use body language to connect instantly. Let's get practical. Imagine you're meeting someone for the first time. You want them to like you, trust you, and feel comfortable around you. Here's a simple 5-step body language formula. Approach with an open stance. Arms uncrossed, shoulders relaxed, chin slightly up. Smile genuinely. A smile releases endorphins, making both you and the other person feel good. Offer a confident handshake or greeting. Firm but not crushing with direct eye contact. Mirror their movements. Subtly matching their posture or gestures builds subconscious rapport. Lean in slightly when listening. Shows interest and engagement without invading personal space. This works whether you're networking on a date or giving a presentation. Reading the room. Observing others. Body language is a two-way street. You're not just sending signals, you're also receiving them. Let's say you're giving a talk and notice your audience leaning back with crossed arms and tight lips. That's a sign they're closed off or skeptical. Instead of continuing as if nothing's wrong, you could change your tone, share a personal story, or even ask a question to re-engage them. On the other hand, if people are leaning forward, nodding and smiling, you know they're with you. Being able to read the room and adjust accordingly is a hallmark of great communicators. Common body language mistakes to avoid. Crossing arms, often perceived as defensive or unapproachable. Looking at your phone while someone's talking signals disinterest and disrespect. Poor posture can make you seem insecure, tired, or disengaged. Nervous habits. Fidgeting, tapping feet, or playing with objects distracts from your message. Forgetting to smile. You may be focused or stressed, but without warmth, you risk coming across as cold. Remember, the wrong body language can overpower even the right words. Here's something I want you to try for the next 24 hours. Pay attention to your posture and facial expressions in every interaction. Before entering a room, pause and reset your body language. Straighten your back, roll your shoulders, relax your jaw, and smile. Do this intentionally and watch how differently people respond to you. As Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, "What you are shouts so loudly in my ears, I cannot hear what you say." In other words, your actions, expressions, and energy are speaking, even when you're silent. Key takeaways for you. Over 60% of communication is nonverbal. Your posture, facial expressions, and gestures speak before your words do. Small changes in body language can instantly make you more confident and likable. Reading other people's body language helps you adapt and connect better. Consistency between words and actions builds trust faster than words alone. Now it's your turn. I want you to think about the last conversation you had. Did your body language match your words? Or did you say one thing while your posture and expressions said another? Drop your answer in the comments. I'd love to hear your experiences. And remember, communication is a skill you can sharpen daily. So keep practicing. If you found this chapter helpful, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one, like this video to support the channel, and share it with someone who wants to level up their communication skills. Chapter 4. How to make people instantly like you. Let me start with a simple truth. Likability is not luck. It's not something you're born with. It's a skill, one you can learn, practice, and master. Have you ever met someone for the very first time and within seconds, you just liked them? They hadn't done anything extraordinary, yet you felt comfortable, maybe even drawn to them. That's not magic, it's psychology. And if you understand it, you can use it to your advantage every single day. Think about it. Opportunities, friendships, trust, cooperation. So much in life depends on whether people like you. It doesn't matter if you're in a job interview, meeting a client, making a new friend, or introducing yourself to your neighbor. Those first few moments are powerful. The question is, how do you make people like you instantly without feeling fake, manipulative, or trying too hard? Let's break it down. 1. Start with genuine interest. The fastest way to make someone like you is to show them that you care. Genuinely. Most people walk into conversations thinking, how can I impress this person? But likable people flip that question into, how can I make this person feel valued? In Dale Carnegie's timeless classic How to Win Friends and Influence People, he wrote, you can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you. That's not just a nice quote, it's human nature. People's favorite topic is themselves. When you ask someone about their passions, their challenges, or their story, and you actually listen, you instantly create a connection. Example: imagine you meet someone at an event. Instead of talking about your own achievements, you ask, what made you decide to come here today? You lean in, nod, and ask follow-up questions. By the end of the conversation, they'll walk away thinking you're fascinating, when all you did was make them feel heard. 2. Smile but mean it. A smile is like a social superpower. But here's the catch. It only works if it's real. A forced smile can be worse than no smile at all because people can sense when you're pretending. When you genuinely smile, your eyes soften, your tone warms up, and you signal safety. Think of it as an unspoken way of saying, you can relax with me. Science backs this up. Studies in behavioral psychology show that people are naturally drawn to those who smile sincerely because it triggers a release of feel-good chemicals in the brain, not just in the person smiling but in the one receiving it. 3. Use their name. Here's a little secret. The sweetest sound to a person's ears is their own name. When you remember someone's name and use it in conversation, you instantly make the interaction more personal. Example: let's say you meet someone named Amina. Instead of saying, nice to meet you, say, nice to meet you, Amina. Then later in the conversation, Amina, that's a really interesting point. It's a small detail, but it makes a big difference. Pro tip: if you struggle with remembering names, repeat it right after you hear it and mentally connect it to something familiar to you. For mirror, don't mimic. Mirroring is when you subtly match a person's body language, tone, or pace of speaking. It creates subconscious comfort because people tend to like those who are like them. For example, if someone is speaking softly, lower your own tone slightly. If they're enthusiastic and animated, allow your energy to match theirs. The key is to keep it natural. If you overdo it, it becomes mimicry and people can sense that it's fake. 5. Give sincere compliments. Notice I said sincere, not flattering. There's a huge difference. Flattery feels empty. Sincerity feels warm and personal. A good compliment is specific and authentic. Instead of saying, you're great, try, I really admire how calm you stayed during that meeting. It's inspiring. When you acknowledge something genuine about someone, they feel seen. And that, my friend, is magnetic. 6. Listen more than you talk. The best conversationalists are often the best listeners. Think of conversations as a game of catch. If you hold on to the ball too long, the game dies. But if you keep tossing it back with interest and curiosity, the game keeps going. When someone is speaking, focus on them, not on what you're going to say next. Nod, make small affirmations like, I see, or that's interesting, and ask open-ended questions to keep the flow going. 7. Avoid one-upping. This is a silent killer of likability. If someone shares a story about their vacation, resist the urge to say, oh, that's nothing. I went to. Instead, celebrate their story. Ask more questions. Let them have the spotlight. Likable people don't compete for attention, they give it generously. 8. Show consistency between words and actions. Nothing kills trust and likability faster than inconsistency. If you say you're going to call, call. If you promise to show up, show up. People are drawn to those they can rely on. Consistency builds trust, and trust builds lasting relationships. Think of a respected world leader or public figure known for their ability to connect with people across cultures and backgrounds. Often, their likability isn't just about speeches or titles. It's about presence. They look people in the eye. They remember details. They make each person feel like the only person in the room. This ability isn't reserved for the powerful. It's a skill you can develop. Putting it all together. Let's imagine a scenario. You walk into a networking event. You approach someone, greet them with a warm smile, use their name and ask them a thoughtful question. As they speak, you lean in, nod and respond with curiosity. You mirror their pace, give a sincere compliment about something they've shared and let them do most of the talking. When you leave, they remember you, not because you told them your life story but because you made them feel important. That's how you make people instantly like you. Key takeaways. Likeability is a skill, not a gift. You can learn it. Show genuine interest in others. Listen more than you speak. Smile sincerely and use people's names. Mirror body language naturally to create connection. Give specific, sincere compliments. Avoid one-upping and keep your word. Here's my question for you. What's one thing someone has done that instantly made you like them? Drop your answer in the comments. I'd love to hear your experiences. If you found this chapter valuable, hit the subscribe button, give this video a like and share it with someone who could use a boost in their communication skills. Remember, when you improve your ability to connect, you improve your ability to succeed. Chapter 5. Mastering the Art of Asking Questions. Let me ask you a question. When was the last time you had a conversation with someone and you felt they truly cared about what you were saying? Not the polite, okay, yeah kind of listening, but the kind where their eyes lit up, their body leaned in, and their curiosity pulled the words out of you. It felt good, didn't it? Felt human. That's the power of asking the right questions. We often think communication is about speaking well, choosing the right words, crafting the perfect response. But here's the truth. Great communication starts with great questions. And not just any questions, but the kind that make people feel valued, understood, and inspired to share more. In fact, Dale Carnegie, in his timeless classic How to Win Friends and Influence People, wrote, "Be a good listener. Ask questions the other person will enjoy answering." And he was right. Questions are the bridge between two minds, the tool that turns a stranger into a friend, and a friend into a trusted ally. Why questions matter more than you think. Think about the most respected leaders in history, world leaders, innovators, activists. What do they have in common? They asked questions. Not because they didn't know anything, but because they knew that asking the right question is often more powerful than giving the right answer. When you ask, "What do you think?" instead of saying, "Here's what I think," you open the floor to ideas. You empower people. You make them feel involved. And here's the magic. When people feel included in a conversation, they are far more likely to trust you, listen to you, and support you. A former world leader once credited his negotiation success not to his speaking ability, but to his habit of asking deep, simple questions in tense meetings. His method was straightforward. Rather than flooding the room with arguments, he would pause and say, "Help me understand your perspective." That single sentence often turned hostility into openness. The 3 levels of questions. Not all questions are created equal. There are 3 levels. Closed questions. These are yes or no questions. Example: did you enjoy the movie? Useful for quick facts, but they don't build deep conversations. Open questions. These invite longer answers. Example: what did you like about the movie? They create space for the other person to share thoughts and feelings. Deep dive questions. These go beyond the surface. Example: why do you think that scene stood out to you? These uncover motivations, emotions, and insights that even the other person might not have realized before. If you want to be an unforgettable communicator, aim for level 3 more often. The secret ingredient: curiosity. Here's something I've noticed. People can smell fake questions. You know, when someone asks, "How are you?" but they don't even slow down to hear your answer? That's not curiosity, that's autopilot. True curiosity means asking because you genuinely want to know. It means listening like what they say could change your life. Curiosity transforms the energy of a conversation. Imagine someone asking you, "So, what's the most exciting thing that happened to you this week?" versus, "How was your week?" The first one sparks joy, the second one sparks boredom. A well-known entrepreneur once said that the fastest way to grow your network is to become endlessly fascinated by other people's stories. And fascination is simply curiosity in action. How to ask better questions in everyday life. Let's get practical. Here are a few tips to instantly improve the questions you ask. Start with what or how, not why. Why can sometimes sound accusatory. Why did you do that? Might make someone defensive. Instead ask, what led you to that decision? Or, how did that happen? Ask one question at a time. Don't overwhelm people. Give them one good question and let them breathe. Use follow-ups. If someone says, I just started a new job, don't stop at, oh, that's nice. Ask, what's your favorite part so far? Or, what made you choose that company? Show you're listening. Your body language, eye contact, and little nods or verbal affirmations encourage people to share more. The thread pulling technique. Conversations are like sweaters. Pull the right thread and you'll unravel a whole story. If someone says, I went hiking this weekend, you could simply say, cool. But a master communicator would ask, where did you go hiking? What made you choose that trail? Have you been hiking for long? Each question pulls another thread, revealing more about the person, their passions, and their experiences. Asking questions in difficult conversations. Asking questions isn't just for light, friendly chats. It's a lifesaver in tense situations. If someone is upset or angry, instead of rushing to defend yourself, try, can you walk me through what happened from your point of view? What's the most important thing you want me to understand about this? This does two things. It shows respect and it slows the emotional temperature of the room. Often people calm down simply because they feel heard. How questions turn ordinary people into great leaders. Let me share something that might surprise you. Some of the most influential leaders weren't the loudest in the room. They weren't the ones delivering speeches every day. They were the ones asking questions in small groups, in one-on-one meetings, in private moments that changed public history. A famous social movement leader once said that his success wasn't because he gave the best speeches, but because he spent years sitting with people asking them, what's the change you want to see in your community? When you ask people what they think, you give them a voice. And giving people a voice is one of the highest forms of respect. The danger of bad questions. Not every question builds trust. Some break it. Avoid questions that embarrass someone in public. Questions that dig too deep too soon. Respect boundaries. Questions that are actually disguised statements, like, don't you think that was a bad idea? Bad questions can shut down a conversation faster than bad answers. A little exercise for you. For the next 24 hours, try this. In every conversation, ask at least one deep, open-ended question. Watch how the energy changes. Notice how people's faces light up when they realize you're not just waiting to talk. You're there to listen. You'll find that when you master the art of asking questions, people will feel drawn to you. They'll feel safe around you. And trust me, that's more powerful than being the smartest person in the room. Takeaway. Great communicators aren't the ones who talk the most. They're the ones who ask the questions that make others talk the most. If you want to connect deeply, lead effectively, and influence positively, master the art of asking questions. From now on, challenge yourself to replace statements with questions wherever possible. Let curiosity lead you. And here's my question for you. What's the most powerful question someone has ever asked you that made you stop and think? Drop your answer in the comments section. I'd love to read them. And if you found this chapter helpful, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Like this video to support the channel, and share it with someone who could use a boost in their communication skills. Chapter 6. Speak with clarity, not complexity. Let's start with a truth that might sting a little. If people keep asking you to repeat yourself, it's not always because they weren't paying attention. Sometimes, it's because you weren't being clear. We live in a world that rewards speed, information, and instant results. But here's the thing, fast-talking, jargon-filled conversations don't impress people. They confuse them. And confusion is the enemy of connection. Think about it. How do you feel when someone explains something so clearly that you instantly get it? You feel smarter. You trust them more. You want to hear more from them. Now compare that to when someone uses big, complicated words or rambles for 5 minutes without actually answering your question. You feel lost, maybe even frustrated. Clarity is not about dumbing things down. It's about making things easy to understand. And that's a skill every great communicator has mastered. Why clarity wins over complexity. Imagine two leaders giving a speech. Leader A uses fancy technical words, long sentences, and abstract ideas. Leader B uses short, simple sentences, real-life examples, and paints a clear picture. Who do you think wins the hearts and minds of the audience? History tells us it's Leader B. Some of the most powerful speeches in the world were not long-winded or stuffed with complex language. They were short, direct, and memorable. One of the best examples is a world leader who, in a time of crisis, addressed their nation in just a few sentences. No complicated vocabulary. No political jargon. Just clear human language. The people understood, felt reassured, and took action. That's the power of clarity. It moves people. The illusion of intelligence. Some people hide behind complexity because they think it makes them look intelligent. But as Albert Einstein famously said in his book Ideas and Opinions, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. Einstein wasn't saying that intelligence means knowing big words. He was saying that true mastery of a subject is when you can explain it so clearly that even a child could understand it. Complex language might impress people for a few seconds, but clear language connects with them for a lifetime. The psychology behind clarity. Here's why clarity works so well. It reduces cognitive load. That's the mental effort your brain uses to process information. When your message is clear, people's brains don't have to work so hard to decode it. That means they can focus on what you're saying rather than trying to figure out what you mean. It's like giving someone a glass of clean water versus a glass of muddy water. Both are liquid, but only one is refreshing. How to speak with clarity. Let's break this down into a step-by-step formula you can start using today. 1. Know your main point. Before you speak, ask yourself, what's the one thing I want them to remember? If you can't answer that, you're not ready to speak yet. Example, instead of saying, the implementation of our restructuring process will lead to optimized performance metrics across the board. You could say, our new plan will help us work faster and get better results. See the difference? One sounds like a corporate memo. The other sounds human. 2. Cut the fluff. Clarity loves brevity. Every extra, unnecessary word is a distraction. If a sentence can be said in 10 words instead of 20, choose 10. Instead of, at this particular point in time, I think we might need to consider the possibility of revisiting our earlier discussion. Say, I think we should talk about this again. 3. Use everyday language. Talk the way people talk in real life. Avoid jargon unless you're sure your audience understands it. Example, a doctor talking to a patient should avoid saying, your condition is in a state of exacerbation, and instead say, your symptoms are getting worse. 4. Give clear examples. If you want people to understand an idea, show them, don't just tell them. Stories and examples make abstract ideas concrete. Example, if you're explaining teamwork to a group, don't just define it. Tell them a short story about a sports team that worked together to win against all odds. 5. Pause for understanding. Don't rush. Give your audience a moment to process what you've said. Silence is a tool. When you pause, you give weight to your words and space for them to sink in. The mistake to avoid. Some people try to be clear by oversimplifying, but they end up sounding condescending. Clarity is not about talking down to people. It's about talking with them. The best communicators make you feel like they're on your level, even if they know more about the subject than you do. They invite you into the conversation instead of locking you out with big words. Let's imagine you're presenting an idea to your team. You could say, The projected fiscal trajectory suggests that with the integration of our synergistic marketing approach, we will see an uptick in consumer engagement metrics. Or you could say, if we follow this new marketing plan, more customers will notice us and buy from us. Which one do you think your team will understand and act on faster? When you speak with clarity, you remove the friction between your idea and the listener's mind. And the less friction there is, the faster action happens. Why clarity inspires trust. Think of the people you trust most. Chances are, they're people who make things easy to understand. Clarity signals honesty. Tells people you have nothing to hide. Complexity, on the other hand, can make people suspicious, like you're trying to confuse them on purpose. In a noisy, fast-paced world, clear communication feels refreshing. It stands out. And people remember it. This week, I want you to try something. Pick one conversation, whether it's at work, with family, or even online, and focus on being as clear as possible. And know your main point. Use short sentences. Give an example. And pause to let it sink in. You'll be amazed at how differently people respond to you. Key takeaway for this chapter. Clarity beats complexity every time. The goal is not to sound smart. It's to be understood. The moment your words become easy to follow, you become more influential, more trusted, and more remembered. What's one example of a time when someone explained something to you so clearly that it stuck with you forever? I'd love to hear your stories. Drop them in the comments below. If you're finding value in this audiobook, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to communicate better. And remember to subscribe, like, and share so you never miss the next chapter. Chapter 7. Overcoming the Fear of Public Speaking. Let me ask you something. If I handed you a microphone right now and asked you to speak to a room full of people, what would happen? For many people, the idea of public speaking feels like being pushed into the deep end of a pool without knowing how to swim. The heartbeat races, the palms get sweaty, and the voice suddenly becomes a stranger. Here's the thing. This fear is not only common, it's almost universal. According to multiple surveys over the years, the fear of public speaking ranks higher than the fear of heights, flying, or even certain animals. Which means for many, standing in front of people feels scarier than standing at the edge of a cliff. But here's the truth. Public speaking is not about being perfect. It's about connection. And once you learn that, you take the power away from fear. Why we fear public speaking. Fear comes from the same place it always does. Survival instinct. Your brain sees a crowd as a form of social judgment, and historically, being rejected by the group meant danger. Your body reacts with fight or flight mode. Faster heartbeat, shallow breathing, sweaty palms. But here's the twist. Those same physical reactions, they can be your fuel. That energy in your body is not fear. It's readiness. Your body is preparing to perform. You just have to direct that energy toward connection, not panic. The mindset shift. One of the most inspiring public speaking transformations I've heard about was a young leader who once froze completely during their first speech. Years later, they became one of the most powerful voices in history. Not because they magically lost the fear, but because they learned to channel it. They discovered that the goal was not to look perfect, but to serve the audience. Once you focus on delivering value rather than protecting your image, your brain stops obsessing over mistakes and starts flowing with your message. Mark Twain once said, "There are only two types of speakers in the world, the nervous and the liars." That means even the greatest speakers you admire still feel nerves. They've just learned to make those nerves work for them. Strategies on how to beat the fear. 1. Prepare, but don't memorize word for word. Your brain gets more nervous when it's trying to recall an exact script. Instead, know your structure, your opening, your main points, and your closing. Fill in the rest naturally. This keeps you flexible and conversational. 2. Rehearse out loud. You cannot train for a marathon by just thinking about running. You must run. Same with speaking. Practice standing up, speaking out loud, using gestures, and even recording yourself. The more familiar it feels, the less scary it becomes. 3. Start small. If the idea of speaking to 500 people terrifies you, start by speaking to 5. Share a story during a team meeting. Speak up during a family gathering. Public speaking is a skill, and like any skill, it grows with use. 4. Turn the spotlight around. Fear grows when we think everyone is watching us, judging us. Instead, imagine that you are having a conversation with one person in the audience. This mental trick removes the pressure of speaking to a faceless crowd. 5. Pause and breathe. Rushing makes you sound nervous. Pausing not only calms your heartbeat, it also makes you sound confident. Remember, silence can be as powerful as words. 6. Visualize success. Before you go on stage, close your eyes and imagine the audience smiling, nodding, and clapping for you. Visualization is a tool athletes use, and it works for speakers too. Reframing failure. What if you stumble on a word? What if you forget a point? Here's the secret: no one cares as much as you think. The audience is not counting your mistakes. They're hoping you succeed. I remember a story about a speaker whose slides stopped working mid-talk. Instead of panicking, they laughed, made a joke about technology, and continued without them. The audience ended up liking them more because of their grace under pressure. When you stop seeing mistakes as disasters and start seeing them as moments of authenticity, the fear loses its grip on you, making the stage your friend. Every time you speak in public, you are training your brain to see the stage as a safe place, not a threat. That's why you must take every opportunity to speak. Meetings, events, discussions. The more your brain sees it as normal, the less fear it will associate with it. Think of it like learning to swim. At first, the water feels cold and scary. But with repeated dips, your body adjusts. The same happens with public speaking. Turning nerves into excitement. Here's a personal coaching tip. Before you speak, stop saying to yourself, "I'm nervous." Instead say, "I'm excited." Physiologically, nervousness and excitement feel very similar. Fast heartbeat, energy rush. But your brain interprets them differently based on the label you give them. The power of your first 30 seconds. Fear is at its peak just before and during the first few seconds of speaking. But once you begin and see the audience responding, it starts to fade. That's why you should always start with something that grabs attention. An interesting question, a short story, or a surprising fact. For example, imagine opening with, "Right now, I'm about to share with you the same strategy that turned my biggest fear into one of my greatest strengths." That instantly shifts the audience into curiosity mode, which also relaxes you. One global leader once admitted they used to practice speeches in front of a mirror for hours, even rehearsing facial expressions and pauses. Another legendary activist revealed they had to grip the podium tightly during early speeches to stop their hands from shaking. What these stories tell us is this: the best speakers are not fearless, they are practiced. And practice is available to anyone willing to try. I want you to do something this week. Find one small opportunity to speak in front of others. It could be introducing yourself in a meeting, telling a story to a group of friends, or volunteering to give a short announcement. Write down how you felt before, during, and after. You might be surprised at how quickly the fear starts to shrink once you take action. Takeaway. Fear of public speaking is normal. It's not a sign you're weak, it's a sign you're human. But with the right mindset and practice, you can turn that fear into fuel. Prepare, start small, breathe, and remember, the audience is on your side. If this chapter helped you, I want you to drop a comment below answering this. What is the biggest fear you have about public speaking? And what's one small step you're willing to take this week to face it? Don't forget, your voice matters. And the world needs to hear it. If you enjoyed this session, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the rest of this audiobook. Like this video to help more people see it. And share it with someone who's been avoiding the microphone for too long. Chapter 8. The Power of Pausing. Let silence work for you. Have you ever noticed that some of the most powerful people in the world don't rush their words? They speak, they stop, and in that silence, people lean in. It's almost like they're pulling you in without lifting a finger. That's the power of pausing. Most people think communication is about what you say. But here's the secret. It's also about what you don't say and the space you allow between your words. Silence can be just as powerful as speech, sometimes even more powerful. When you learn to pause, you stop sounding rushed, desperate, or unsure. You sound thoughtful. You sound confident. You sound like someone worth listening to. Why silence is a secret weapon in communication. When you pause, a few things happen. You give your words weight. If you never pause, your sentences blend into one another. Pausing creates separation like full stops in music. It makes your point clear. You create anticipation. People wonder what you'll say next. The human brain hates unfinished patterns, so a pause makes listeners lean in. You give yourself control. Speaking nonstop gives away your power. But when you pause, you take control of the pace and direction of the conversation. Think of a great leader making an important speech. They don't rush through their sentences. They let each one breathe. That breathing space is the pause. The psychology behind the pause. In conversations, most people fear silence. It feels awkward. They rush to fill it. But the truth is, silence is only uncomfortable when you don't understand its power. In his book Talk Like TED, Carmine Gallo explains that some of the best public speakers use pauses deliberately to give their audience time to absorb their words. They know that silence can create an emotional echo in the listener's mind. Here's why it works. Pauses give the brain time to process. Your audience can actually remember what you just said. Pauses create emphasis. The human brain pays attention to changes. When you stop talking, the contrast makes people notice. Pauses display confidence. Rushed speech can make you sound nervous. Calm, intentional pauses make you look in control. How pausing works in real life. Let's say you're giving feedback to a colleague or speaking to your team. Instead of saying, "I think we should take this approach because it's more cost-effective, and it will help us save time and resources in the long run," you could say, "I think we should take this approach." Pause for 2 seconds. Because it's more cost-effective. Pause again. And it will help us save time and resources in the long run. Those tiny pauses make your points land like stepping stones. People follow your thoughts without getting lost. The pause in negotiation. Silence is a negotiator's best friend. When you make an offer or a statement, pause. Let the other person fill the silence. If you've ever watched skilled negotiators or high-stakes dealmakers, you'll notice something. They don't rush to justify themselves. They put their statement out there, and then they wait. Here's why. People feel uncomfortable with silence, so they often reveal more information just to fill the gap. Silence shows you're confident enough not to over-explain yourself. The pause can make the other person question whether they should speak next, putting you in control. The pause in storytelling. Even in storytelling, whether you're telling a friend a funny story or presenting a project at work, the pause is magic. Imagine telling a suspenseful story without any pauses. It would feel flat. Now imagine saying, and then, "I opened the door." Pause. And what I saw left me completely speechless. The pause becomes part of the story. It builds suspense. It makes your listener's imagination run wild. The pause in difficult conversations. Sometimes we face conversations where emotions run high. Conflict with a friend, tension with a partner, or a disagreement at work. In these moments, silence can save the relationship. When someone says something hurtful or unexpected, most people react instantly. But the pause gives you time to breathe, think, and choose your response instead of reacting from emotion. The next time someone pushes your buttons, try this. Breathe in slowly. Count 1, 2 in your mind before you speak. Let the silence hold your composure. How to practice the art of pausing. Like any skill, pausing takes practice. Here's how to get started. Read aloud slowly. Practice reading a paragraph and inserting pauses at commas, full stops, or after important words. Record yourself speaking. You'll notice if you rush or never pause. Breathe before you speak. A deep breath naturally creates a pause. Use pauses after key points. It signals to your listener that something important was just said. Resist the urge to fill silence. Let the other person speak first. The difference between a weak pause and a strong pause. A weak pause feels accidental, like you lost your train of thought. A strong pause is intentional. It's a moment you own. The key is in your body language. Keep eye contact. Keep your posture confident. Don't fidget. Let the silence belong to you. One of the most iconic public speakers in history was known for pausing for several seconds after making a powerful point, sometimes as long as 5 seconds. People described those silences as the moments when his message truly sank in. He understood that the pause wasn't empty, it was charged with meaning. And here's the takeaway. You don't have to be a world leader to use this. You can use it in an interview, in a date conversation, in a business pitch, or even in a casual chat with friends. What happens when you overuse pauses? Of course, balance matters. Too many pauses and you'll sound hesitant or disconnected. The goal isn't to make your speech robotic. It's to use silence like seasoning in a meal. Enough to enhance the flavor, but not so much that it's overwhelming. The magic formula: speak, pause, breathe, continue. Here's a simple pattern you can use today. Make your point. Pause for 1 to 3 seconds. Breathe in naturally. Continue with the next point. That's it. You've just turned ordinary speech into powerful communication. Right now, I want you to imagine yourself in your next conversation. Picture yourself saying something important, and then pausing. Feel the control in that silence. Feel the calm. Feel the power. This isn't about dominating people. It's about making your words land with impact. It's about showing you value the conversation enough to give it space. Starting today, practice pausing intentionally in your conversations. When you're speaking with someone, insert a pause after your most important points. Do this with confidence, not hesitation. Notice how people respond differently. Key takeaway: pausing is not empty space, it's a tool. It adds weight to your words, builds anticipation, and gives you control over the flow of the conversation. The silence between your words can be just as powerful as the words themselves. When was the last time you stayed silent in a conversation and it worked in your favor? Share your story below. I'd love to hear it. If you found this chapter helpful, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the rest of this audiobook. Like this video if you learned something new, and share it with someone who could use the power of pausing in their life. Chapter 9. How to handle difficult conversations gracefully. Let's be honest. No one really wakes up in the morning excited to have a difficult conversation. Whether it's confronting a colleague about a mistake, telling a friend they've hurt you, or addressing a sensitive issue with a family member, these moments can be tense. Our palms sweat, our heart rate climbs, and our mind tries to script every possible outcome. But here's the thing. Avoiding difficult conversations doesn't make problems go away. It only lets them grow quietly in the dark until they eventually explode. And when they do, they're harder to control. On the other hand, handling them with grace can strengthen trust, deepen respect, and often resolve issues faster than you think. So, how do you face them without burning bridges, raising voices, or saying something you'll regret? Today we're going to explore practical, real-world strategies to handle tough conversations, whether in your workplace, your personal life, or even on a global stage, without losing your composure or damaging the relationship. 1. Reframe the purpose of the conversation. One of the biggest mistakes people make is approaching a difficult conversation like a battle, where one side must win and the other must lose. That mindset creates defensiveness before you even start. Instead, approach it as a problem-solving session. Your goal is not to attack the other person but to address the issue together. When you see it as two people versus the problem, instead of me versus you naturally speak in a way that invites cooperation. For example, I once heard the story of a well-known leader who had to address his team after a major public failure. He could have shifted blame. He could have hidden the truth. But instead he sat everyone down and said, "We have a problem. And the only way we solve it is together." That small reframing turned what could have been an emotional firing squad into a collaborative brainstorming session. 2. Prepare but don't script. Preparation is vital, but over-preparation can backfire. If you rehearse your lines word for word, you risk sounding robotic or worse, panicking if the other person doesn't respond the way you expect. Instead, write down your key points, the main things you want to express, and anticipate possible reactions. But allow space for the conversation to flow naturally. Think of it like traveling with a map. You know your destination and the main roads, but you're flexible enough to take a detour if needed. 3. Regulate your emotions before you start. A difficult conversation is not the time to wing it while you're still upset. If you walk in angry, you'll come out angrier. A great tip from Daniel Goleman's Emotional Intelligence is to engage your pause button before speaking. Take deep breaths. Count to 10. Or if possible, sleep on it before responding. Why? Because your brain works differently when emotions are high, you're more likely to react than respond. And in difficult conversations, reaction often makes the situation worse, while response makes it better. Use I statements, not you accusations. Here's the fastest way to make someone defensive. Start your sentences with you always or you never. Instead, focus on how the behavior affects you, not on labeling the person. For example, bad, you never listen to me. Better, I feel unheard when I'm interrupted. This small shift reduces defensiveness and makes the other person more open to hearing your perspective. 5. Listen twice as much as you speak. Remember the first rule of great communication? Listen to understand, not to reply. In difficult conversations, listening is your superpower. When people feel heard, their resistance softens. Sometimes just giving someone the space to explain their side changes the entire tone of the exchange. There's a reason a world leader once said, "Most conflicts do not end when one side wins. They end when both sides feel understood." 6. Keep your voice and body language calm. Even if your words are polite, a tense tone or closed-off body language can send the wrong signal. Maintain eye contact without glaring. Keep your tone steady and your volume moderate. If you find your voice rising, consciously slow down your speech. It naturally calms your delivery. 7. Find common ground before seeking resolution. Start by pointing out something you agree on, even if it's small. For example, we both want this project to succeed, or we both care about keeping our friendship strong. This shifts the mood from confrontation to collaboration. Once you're on the same team, problem solving becomes easier. 8. Know when to pause or walk away. Sometimes, despite your best efforts, the conversation gets too heated. In that case, it's better to take a break than to say something you can't take back. You can say, "I think we're both too worked up to solve this right now. Can we take a break and come back to it?" That's not weakness, it's wisdom. 9. Agree on next steps. Ending a difficult conversation without a clear next step is like treating a wound but never putting on a bandage. It'll open up again. Summarize what you both agreed on, set expectations, and if needed, schedule a follow-up to check progress. Let me share a quick example. A manager I once read about had an employee who kept missing deadlines. Instead of calling them in to scold them, the manager started with, "I know you care about your work and want to deliver high quality. I've noticed deadlines have been a struggle lately. Can you tell me what's been happening?" That single question revealed the employee was dealing with a personal crisis. Together, they worked out a temporary solution that improved productivity and strengthened trust. The next time you face a difficult conversation, pause. Ask yourself, am I trying to win or am I trying to solve the problem? Then use the tools we discussed today. Prepare, stay calm, listen deeply, and seek common ground. If you do this consistently, you'll find that difficult conversations stop being landmines you want to avoid, and start being bridges to stronger relationships. What's the most difficult conversation you've had to face and how did you handle it? Drop your answer in the comments. I'd love to read your experiences. Key takeaways. See the conversation as a shared problem to solve, not a fight to win. Prepare your points but don't overscript the exchange. Control your emotions before you start. Use I statements instead of you accusations. Listen to understand, not just to respond. Find common ground before moving to solutions. Agree on next steps so the issue doesn't resurface. If you found this chapter helpful, make sure you subscribe, like, and share this audiobook so more people can learn to navigate difficult conversations with grace. Your support helps us create more life-changing content like this. Now let's move on to the next chapter, where we'll explore Speak to Inspire, Turning Words into Influence. Chapter 10, Speak to Inspire, Turning Words into Influence. Let me ask you a question. When you speak, do people simply hear you, or do they feel you? There's a big difference between being heard and being remembered. Anyone can stand in front of a group, in a meeting, or even online and say words. But only a few can make people stop scrolling, stop thinking about their to-do list, and truly listen, because those few have learned how to inspire. Speaking to inspire is not about having a perfect voice, flawless grammar, or even telling the most dramatic stories. It's about making people believe in something, whether that's an idea, a cause, or even themselves. Today, I want to coach you through how to turn your words into influence, without sounding fake, without memorizing lines, and without feeling like you have to be someone you're not. The secret of influence. Influence doesn't start with what you say. It starts with why you say it. If your words don't come from a place of genuine belief, they won't carry the energy needed to inspire. You've probably experienced this before. Someone stood up to give a speech, but you could tell they were just reading lines. Their words might have been clever, but they didn't touch you. Now think of a moment when someone spoke with pure conviction. Maybe they didn't have fancy vocabulary. Maybe their voice even shook a little. But their passion made you lean in. That's the difference. One of the most influential leaders in history once said, "People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it." This idea comes from Simon Sinek's book Start With Why, and it's not just about selling products. It's about inspiring people to take action. If your words are rooted in a purpose that matters to you, they will naturally have more power. Your words must paint pictures. Have you ever heard someone describe something so vividly that you could see it in your mind? That's the magic of speaking to inspire. You make people visualize what you mean. For example, instead of saying, "We should work together as a team," you could say, "Imagine rowing a boat across a calm lake. If we all pull the oars at different times, we'll just spin in circles. But if we pull together in rhythm, we'll glide smoothly to our destination." See the difference? One statement gives information. The other sparks imagination. When you use stories, analogies, and imagery, you're not just telling people something, you're letting them experience it. That experience is what makes your words influence action. The power of emotional connection. Facts tell, stories sell. But emotions make people move. If you want to inspire, don't just load your audience with data. Yes, facts are important, but facts alone rarely change minds or hearts. You need to connect those facts to feelings. Think about it. When a humanitarian leader stands in front of a crowd to raise funds for clean water, they don't just say, "Over 2 million people lack access to clean drinking water." Instead, they tell the story of a child who walks miles every day barefoot, carrying a heavy bucket from a muddy river, only to bring home water that still makes her sick. That single story can stir something inside people. It transforms an abstract number into a human reality. And once you've touched someone's heart, they're more likely to take action. Speak to lift, not just to impress. Some people think inspiration means being impressive, dropping big words, quoting philosophers, or showing off their knowledge. But in truth, inspiring people is less about showing them how smart you are and more about reminding them how capable they are. Think about the teachers, mentors, or coaches who changed your life. They didn't just display their intelligence. They helped you see potential in yourself. They made you believe you could achieve more than you thought possible. Your words should do the same. Speak in a way that leaves your listener thinking, "If they believe I can do it, maybe I really can." That is real influence. Authenticity over perfection. One of the fastest ways to kill inspiration is to sound too rehearsed, too polished, or too perfect. People don't connect with perfection, they connect with realness. Some of the most inspiring speeches ever delivered had mistakes, pauses, or even tears in them. But those moments made them human, and that humanity made the message powerful. So if your voice shakes when you talk about something you care about, let it shake. If you need to pause to gather your thoughts, pause. It shows your audience that you're not just delivering lines, you're speaking from the heart. The rhythm of influence. Words alone are not enough. How you deliver them matters too. When you want to inspire, pause for effect. Let your audience absorb your point. Change your tone. Don't speak in a flat voice. Rise and fall to match the emotion. Use silence strategically. Sometimes the most powerful part of your speech is what you don't say. For example, if you're telling a story about overcoming a challenge, pause before the breakthrough moment. That brief silence creates anticipation and makes the payoff hit harder. Your call to action matters. Inspiration without direction is like lighting a fire but not showing where to cook the meal. Always give people a next step. That step could be as simple as, try this new approach tomorrow in your meeting. Have one conversation today where you just listen without interrupting. Share your story with one person who needs to hear it. By giving your audience something specific to do, you turn your words into action. And action is the ultimate proof of influence. Think of a global humanitarian who spoke so passionately about helping the poor that people around the world rallied to donate. Not because they were guilted into it, but because they felt called to. Or a sports captain who gave a halftime speech so filled with belief that their team came back from losing by double digits to win the game. Or an entrepreneur who shared their personal story of failing 3 times before finally succeeding, and inspired thousands of others to keep going with their own dreams. None of them were magicians. None of them were perfect speakers. But they all had one thing: a genuine message that people could connect to, believe in, and act upon. Practical exercise. The 3-step inspiration formula. Before your next important conversation, speech, or presentation, clarify your why. Why does this message matter to you? Visualize the impact. What do you want people to feel or do after hearing you? Use one story. Even a short, real-life example will anchor your point in their memory. If you follow these 3 steps, your words will naturally become more inspiring, and people will remember you for it. Key takeaway. You don't inspire people by being the loudest, the smartest, or the most perfect. You inspire them by being real, speaking with purpose, connecting through stories, and giving them hope and direction. When was the last time someone's words truly inspired you? What did they say and why did it stick with you? Share your story below. I'd love to read it. If this chapter has given you practical tools to turn your words into influence, don't keep it to yourself. Practice it, share it, and watch how people respond to you differently. And remember, if you want more insights like this, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, and share this audiobook with someone who could use a little inspiration today. Chapter 11: Emotional Intelligence in Everyday Communication. Let's be honest, how many times have you said something you wish you could take back? Or maybe you've been on the receiving end of words that left a sting, not because they were loud, but because they were careless. Here's the truth. In communication, it's not always the smartest person in the room who wins people over. It's the person who understands emotions, both theirs and others. That's emotional intelligence. As Daniel Goleman, author of Emotional Intelligence, Why It Can Matter More Than IQ, famously said, if your emotional abilities aren't in hand, if you don't have self-awareness, if you are not able to manage your distressing emotions, then no matter how smart you are not going to get very far. In this chapter, we're going to treat emotional intelligence not as a soft skill, but as a life skill, one that can transform how people respond to you, trust you, and even follow you. Part 1: What emotional intelligence really means in communication. Emotional intelligence, often called EQ, is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your own emotions, while also recognizing, understanding, and influencing the emotions of others. In everyday communication, this means knowing when to speak and when to hold back. Reading between the lines when someone says, "I'm fine," but their tone says otherwise. choosing words that lift instead of words that cut, responding to conflict with calm, not with heat. Think of a great leader you admire, not because of their power but because of their presence. They probably don't shout to be heard. They don't dominate conversations. Instead, they listen deeply, they speak with intention, and they make you feel understood. That's emotional intelligence in action. Part 2. The 4 pillars of emotional intelligence in communication. Let's break EQ down into 4 core skills and see how they play out in real-life conversations. 1. Self-awareness, knowing your emotional state before you speak. If you've ever sent a text in anger and regretted it 5 minutes later, you already know why self-awareness matters. Before you speak, ask yourself, am I upset, tired, or stressed right now? Is my emotion going to color my words in a way I'll regret? World leaders, skilled negotiators, and even successful parents all have this in common. They pause long enough to understand themselves before they respond to others. A quick tip. Next time you feel triggered, use the 10-second rule. Take a deep breath, count to 10, and then respond. 2. Self-management, controlling your reactions. Self-awareness is knowing you're angry. Self-management is choosing not to let that anger control your mouth. Think of a professional athlete who's just been fouled unfairly. The crowd is booing, the tension is high, but they choose to walk away instead of retaliating. That's self-management. In conversation, this could mean not interrupting when someone says something you disagree with, keeping your tone steady in a heated discussion, responding with curiosity instead of defensiveness. Remember, people don't just remember what you said, they remember how you made them feel. 3. Social awareness, reading the room. Social awareness is the ability to sense other people's emotions, pick up on unspoken cues, and understand group dynamics. Ever been in a meeting where someone cracks a joke that falls completely flat? They lacked social awareness. In everyday life, this skill looks like noticing when someone is quiet in a group and inviting them into the conversation. Picking up on body language that says someone's uncomfortable, even if they're smiling. Knowing when to change the subject to keep the energy positive. This is why great communicators don't just talk. They scan the emotional temperature of the room before they dive in. 4. Relationship management, building trust through emotionally intelligent conversations. Once you can manage yourself and read others, the final skill is building strong, lasting connections. This means being the person people feel safe to open up to. Handling disagreements in a way that protects the relationship. Knowing how to inspire and influence without manipulation. The best example? Think of a mentor who corrected you in a way that didn't break you but built you. They didn't just point out your mistake, they made you feel supported while you grew. Part 3. Emotional intelligence in real-life conversations. Let's take some everyday scenarios and see how EQ changes the outcome. Scenario 1. A friend cancels plans at the last minute. Low EQ response. Wow. So I guess I'm not important to you. High EQ response. I understand things come up. Let's reschedule. When works for you? One response makes it about your hurt feelings. The other acknowledges their situation and keeps the relationship intact. Scenario 2. A disagreement at work. Low EQ response. That idea will never work. We've tried it before. High EQ response. I see where you're coming from. Can we explore the challenges we faced last time and see if there's a new way to approach it? Here, emotional intelligence shifts the tone from dismissive to collaborative. Scenario 3. Comforting someone who's upset. Low EQ response. Don't cry, it's not a big deal. High EQ response. I can see this really matters to you. Do you want to talk about it? One shuts the emotion down, the other validates it. Part 4. Building emotional intelligence in your communication. Now let's get practical. Here are 5 daily habits to boost your EQ. Pause before you speak. Give yourself space to choose your words. Ask more, tell less. Replace assumptions with questions. Notice nonverbal cues. Tone, pace, and posture matter as much as words. Practice empathy. Imagine yourself in their position before responding. Reflect daily. Ask yourself at the end of each day, did my words today build or break? Like any skill, EQ grows with intentional practice. Part 5. Why emotional intelligence is a game changer. When you develop emotional intelligence, you'll notice people open up to you more. Conflicts don't escalate as often. You feel more in control of your own emotions. Your words carry more weight because they're backed by understanding, not ego. You'll also become more persuasive, not by force but by connection. People don't resist you when they feel respected. Key takeaway. Emotional intelligence in communication is about connection over correction. It's about choosing words and actions that bridge gaps instead of widening them. Master this and you won't just be a better communicator, you'll be someone people want to communicate with. Now I want to hear from you. Think back to the last conversation you had that didn't go well. If you could go back and handle it with more emotional intelligence, what would you do differently? Drop your answer in the comments. And if this chapter gave you value, make sure you subscribe for more powerful communication insights, like this video so it reaches more people, and share it with someone who could use a boost in their communication skills. Chapter 12. How to argue without destroying the relationship. Let's be honest. Conflict is not the enemy. The real danger is how we handle it. It's not arguments that break relationships apart. It's the way those arguments are fought. Think about it. You've probably seen people, maybe a couple, business partners, or even lifelong friends, who had one disagreement and that was the last time they spoke. On the other hand, you've seen others who argue, sometimes loudly, yet still walk away stronger and closer than before. The difference isn't luck. It's skill. It's the art of arguing without destroying the relationship. Why this skill is crucial. In Crucial Conversations by Carrie Patterson, Joseph Grenny, Ron McMillan, and Al Switzler, the authors talk about how high-stakes conversations, where emotions are strong and opinions differ, can either build trust or shatter it. One key insight from the book is this. The mistake most people make is thinking the choice is between being honest or being kind, when in fact you can be both. That's our goal in this chapter, to show you how to be both honest and kind, even in the heat of disagreement. Step 1. Start with the relationship, not the point. Before you dive into who's right and who's wrong, pause and ask yourself, do I value this person more than I value winning this argument? A world leader once said that diplomacy is the art of telling someone to go to the other side in such a way that they look forward to the trip. The principle here is that your words should never damage the bridge between you and the other person, because you might need to cross it again tomorrow. Practical tip. Begin your conversation with a statement of respect. For example, I want us to work this out because you matter to me. I may see things differently, but I respect your perspective. This immediately lowers defensiveness. Step 2. Listen to understand, not reload. Too often while someone is talking, we're not listening, we're reloading. We're preparing our comeback, our evidence, our counterattack. That's not listening, that's sparring. Instead, practice active listening. Repeat back what you've heard to confirm understanding. So you're saying you felt excluded when I made that decision? It sounds like you think I didn't involve you enough in the process. When people feel heard, they're more willing to hear you. Step 3. Control your tone and body language. You can be saying the right thing, but your tone and posture can still destroy the message. Crossing your arms, raising your voice, or rolling your eyes can be like pouring gasoline on a fire. A famous negotiator once said that, people may forget the words you used, but they'll never forget how you made them feel during a disagreement. Soften your body language. Keep your hands relaxed. Lean in slightly to show engagement. Keep your voice calm and even. Step 4. Attack the problem, not the person. One of the fastest ways to ruin a relationship is to turn an issue into a personal attack. You always, or you never, statements put the other person on the defensive immediately. Instead, focus on the behavior or the situation, not their character. Wrong, you're careless. Better, when the report was late, it caused us to miss the deadline. This keeps the conversation solution-focused rather than blame-focused. Step 5. Use the yes and technique. In theater improv, there's a golden rule. Never shut down the other person's reality. Instead of saying yes but, which feels like rejection, say yes and. For example, yes, I see your point about the budget and I think we can find a way to still meet the deadline. This creates a sense of collaboration rather than opposition. Step 6. Know when to pause. Sometimes the best thing you can do in an argument is to step away, not to avoid the problem but to allow emotions to cool. Think of it like cooking rice. If you keep poking at it while it's boiling, you'll just make a mess. But if you let it simmer, it cooks evenly. Practical tip. Agree on a break time. Let's take 20 minutes and then we'll come back to this. Step 7. Find common ground before the conversation ends. Even if you haven't solved the problem, find one thing you both agree on before parting ways. Could be as simple as, we both care about this project. We both want what's best for our kids. This keeps the relationship intact and reminds you that you're on the same team, even if you disagree on the play. Step 8. Remember, you don't always have to win. Sometimes winning the relationship is more important than winning the argument. The late Stephen R. Covey, author of The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, emphasized think win-win. This means looking for solutions where both sides walk away satisfied. But sometimes, it also means being willing to lose a point today to keep the connection strong tomorrow. Imagine 2 business partners in a heated debate over whether to expand into a new market. One is convinced it's too risky, the other believes it's the opportunity of a lifetime. If they make it personal, you're too cautious, or you're reckless, the trust is gone. But if they focus on the shared goal, growing the company, they can explore options together. Run a pilot program, do more market research, or seek expert advice. The point is, the relationship stays intact and the decision-making stays rational. When you argue, picture the relationship like a fragile glass. Every word you speak is either polishing it or cracking it. Your job is to walk away with that glass not just intact but stronger. Key takeaways for you. Start by valuing the relationship over winning the point. Listen actively, don't just wait for your turn to talk. Use calm tone and open body language. Attack the problem, not the person. Use yes and to create collaboration. Take breaks when emotions run high. End with common ground. Remember, it's okay not to win every time. The next time you find yourself in an argument, pause and ask, am I about to strengthen this relationship or damage it? Your answer will shape your words. What's one thing you've learned today that will change how you handle disagreements in the future? I'd love to read your answers in the comments. And if this chapter has given you a new perspective on communication, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with someone who needs to hear this today. Because strong relationships deserve strong Chapter 13. You reading people. What they're really saying. If you could read minds, imagine how different your conversations would be. You'd know when someone's lying, when they're uncomfortable, when they're genuinely happy to see you, or just pretending. Here's the secret. You already have that power. It's not magic. It's not a superpower only certain people are born with. It's the art of reading people, paying attention to what's being said between the words. Most of what we communicate is nonverbal. Studies in communication psychology suggest that over half of our message comes from body language, tone, and microexpressions, not from the actual words. Albert Mehrabian, in his well-known 7-38-55 rule, pointed out that communication is 7% words, 38% tone, and 55% body language. So, if you focus only on the words, you're missing more than half the story. Let me give you a relatable example. Picture a world leader addressing a crowd. The words are hopeful, but the shoulders are hunched, the voice trembles slightly, and the eyes glance away too often. Even without knowing the language, you'd sense uncertainty. That's because your brain is constantly decoding unspoken signals. You just may not have been conscious of it. Think of a time you asked someone, "Are you okay?" And they replied, "I'm fine." But their tone was flat, their arms were crossed, and their smile didn't reach their eyes. You probably knew they weren't fine, right? That's because the body rarely lies, even when the mouth does. The 3 layers of people reading. Body language, the silent storyteller. Open postures, like arms uncrossed, leaning in slightly, usually signal comfort and openness. Closed postures, crossed arms, turned away shoulders, often signal defensiveness or discomfort. Micromovements, like a quick touch to the face or neck, can indicate stress or self-soothing. Tone of voice, the emotional amplifier. 2 people can say the exact same words, but their tone changes the meaning entirely. A "that's great" in a warm, excited tone means genuine happiness. The same words in a flat, low tone might mean sarcasm or disinterest. Microexpressions, the truth leak. These are tiny, involuntary facial expressions that flash for less than half a second. They can reveal hidden emotions, fear, anger, surprise, even when someone is trying to hide them. According to Paul Ekman's research, detailed in his book Emotions Revealed, microexpressions are universal. A smile of real joy uses the muscles around the eyes while a fake one doesn't. How to practice reading people in real life. Observe before you interpret. When you meet someone, take a few seconds to notice their natural posture, tone, and expression. This is their baseline. Any shift from that baseline tells you something has changed. Mood, comfort level, or intention. Watch for clusters, not single signs. One gesture alone can be misleading. A person might cross their arms because they're cold, not defensive. But if they also turn slightly away, give short answers, and avoid eye contact, you might be looking at discomfort or disagreement. Listen to the words and the gaps between them. Pauses, hesitations, and changes in speed or pitch often carry meaning. A sudden pause before answering might suggest they're choosing their words carefully, or hiding something. Trust your gut, but check your bias. Sometimes you'll just feel something's off. That's your subconscious picking up patterns. But always verify. Biases can make us misread people, especially across cultures or personalities. A well-known business leader once gave a public apology after a major mistake. The words sounded perfect, crafted by skilled writers. But observers noted the lack of eye contact, the stiff posture, and the defensive arm folding. Many viewers walked away unconvinced. Why? Because how he spoke contradicted what he said. In contrast, another public figure, after a personal loss, addressed the world with trembling hands, a breaking voice, and visible tears. The words were few, but the body language made the pain unmistakable, and people connected deeply with that vulnerability. A powerful shift. The moment you start reading people accurately, conversations feel different. You're not just hearing, you're perceiving. You start asking better questions. You adapt your tone to match the other person's emotional state. And here's the magic. When people feel understood without having to explain every detail, they trust you more. That trust can open doors that words alone never could. Practical exercises you can start today. Silent observation drill. Sit in a public space and watch people interact without hearing them. Try to guess their relationship, mood, or topic based on body language. Tone matching practice. In your next conversation, subtly match the other person's energy level and pace. See how it changes the flow of the discussion. Microexpression spotting. Watch short video clips of interviews. Mute them first, then unmute. Notice small facial expressions, eyebrow raises, lip bites, or forced smiles. A quote to remember. As Peter Drucker famously said in The Effective Executive, "The most important thing in communication is hearing what isn't said." From today, start paying attention not just to the words, but to the story the body, tone, and microexpressions are telling you. Keep a mental journal. Notice patterns, compare them with what you hear, and see how your understanding deepens over time. Think about the last conversation you had. Did you notice any body language or tone that said more than the actual words? Share your experience in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. Takeaway. Words are only a small part of communication. The real message is in the tone, the posture, the glance, and the pause. Learn to read these and you'll understand people on a level most never reach. If you found this valuable, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter. Like this video to support the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Your ability to read people is your hidden advantage. Let's sharpen it together. Chapter 14. Mastering Digital Communication. Text, email, video calls. Let's be honest. In today's world, more of our communication happens through a glowing screen than face-to-face. We send quick texts instead of stopping by someone's desk. We fire off emails instead of having hallway conversations. We attend video calls instead of gathering in meeting rooms. And while digital communication has made the world smaller, faster, and more connected, it has also made misunderstandings easier, attention shorter, and relationships weaker, if we don't know how to use it well. The good news is digital communication is a skill, and like any skill, it can be mastered. By the end of this chapter, you'll know how to write a text that gets a warm reply, craft emails that people actually read, and speak on video calls in a way that makes people feel like you're right there in the room with them. Part 1. Texting, short messages, big impact. A text is the simplest form of digital communication, but it's also one of the easiest places for tone to get lost. Without facial expressions, voice tone, or body language, your message can sound colder or more direct than you intended. Imagine this: your friend texts, "We need to talk." No emojis. No extra words. For many people, this instantly triggers worry. Are they upset? Did you do something wrong? This is why tone matters in short messages. If you want warmth to come through, you need to be intentional. Simple additions like, "Hey, hope you're well," smiling face with smiling eyes, or "excited to catch up," can completely change how your message is received. Think about it this way: your text should sound like you. If you'd smile while saying it in person, add that same warmth in your words or with light, appropriate emoji use. Practical tip for text. Keep them clear and short. Don't hide important details in long paragraphs. Use punctuation wisely. A period can sometimes feel final or cold in casual texting, so be mindful of your tone. Don't respond emotionally when upset. Pause, breathe, then reply. Part 2. Emails, professionalism without being robotic. Emails have become the backbone of workplace communication. But here's the trap. Many people write emails as if they're filling out a legal contract. Formal. Lifeless. Yes, professionalism matters, but human connection matters more. Here's a story. A well-known CEO once said that one of his secrets to building strong business relationships was replying to emails as if he was having a friendly conversation in person. That meant using names, expressing appreciation, and writing with clarity instead of corporate jargon. The truth is, people don't have time to read long, wandering emails. The clearer and warmer your email is, the more likely it is to get a response. How to write emails people actually read. Start with a human greeting. Instead of "Dear Sir/Madam," use the person's name. Get to the point early. Don't bury your main message under 5 paragraphs of background. Break up long text. Use short paragraphs or bullet points for clarity. End with a call to action. Make it clear what you want the reader to do next. For example, instead of writing, "Dear Mr. John, I am writing to follow up regarding our earlier conversation in which we discussed potential collaboration opportunities between our teams in the near future." You could write, "Hi John, hope you're doing well. Just wanted to follow up on our conversation about collaborating. Are you available Thursday at 3 p.m. to discuss details?" Notice the difference? One feels like a letter from 1970. The other feels human and easy to respond to. Part 3. Video calls. Your presence through a screen. Now let's talk about video calls. Whether it's Zoom, Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, or any other platform, here's the reality. Most people don't prepare for them. They show up late, look distracted, have poor lighting, and wonder why the meeting feels disconnected. Here's the thing. On a video call, You are competing for attention with everything else on the person's screen. Emails, social media, chat messages, notifications. People can zone out in seconds. So how do you stand out? 1. Show up like you would in person. Dress appropriately even if you're at home. Your appearance communicates respect. 2. Mind your background. A cluttered, messy background can distract from your message. Keep it clean or use a simple virtual background. 3. Use good lighting. Natural light in front of you is best. Avoid sitting with a bright window behind you. It makes you look like a shadow. 4. Maintain eye contact. Look into the camera when speaking, not at your own image. This makes the other person feel you're talking directly to them. 5. Be fully present. Close unrelated tabs. Silence your phone. People can tell when you're half listening. Bringing it all together. Whether you're sending a text, writing an email, or joining a video call, the goal is the same: make the other person feel heard, respected, and understood. Digital communication isn't just about the technology, it's about the human behind the screen. As Dale Carnegie wrote in How to Win Friends and Influence People, you can make more friends in 2 months by becoming genuinely interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get people interested in you. That principle applies just as much to online interactions as it does in real life. If you approach every text, email, or video call with genuine interest, clarity, and warmth, you will stand out in a noisy digital world. Key takeaways. Digital communication requires more intentional tone because we lose facial and voice cues. Text should be short, clear, and warm. Tone matters more than you think. Emails should balance professionalism with a human touch. Video calls require presence. Prepare your environment, appearance, and focus. Connection is the goal. Tools are just the channel. Right now, think about the last text, email, or video call you sent. If you could redo it to make it warmer, clearer, or more engaging, what would you change? Drop your answer in the comments. I'd love to see your examples. And if you've learned something valuable in this chapter, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this audiobook so more people can improve their communication skills in the digital age. Chapter 15. Becoming a lifelong communicator. The journey never ends. Imagine for a moment that communication is like a muscle. You can't just work it out once and expect it to stay strong forever. If you stop using it, it weakens. If you keep practicing and challenging it, it grows. Being a truly great communicator is not a destination. It's a journey. You don't reach a point where you say, "I've mastered it all. I never need to improve again." No, the world keeps changing. People's needs, emotions, and ways of connecting keep evolving. And if you want to remain relevant, respected, and influential, you must keep evolving too. Think about some of the most impactful leaders, entrepreneurs, and changemakers in history. They didn't stop learning just because they achieved success. They treated communication as a craft to be refined daily. One well-known world leader, famous for uniting people in times of division, was once terrified of public speaking. His early speeches were stiff, filled with long pauses, and lacked confidence. But he didn't stop there. He studied great orators. He hired speech coaches. He rehearsed every speech for hours, even practicing his pauses in front of a mirror. Decades later, he was known for delivering speeches that inspired millions, speeches still quoted today. The difference? He understood that mastery was a moving target. Why you can never graduate from communication. In his book Mindset, The New Psychology of Success, Carol Dweck explains the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. A fixed mindset says, "I'm either good at communicating or I'm not." A growth mindset says, "I can always get better if I keep learning." When it comes to communication, the growth mindset is essential. New platforms appear. Generations communicate differently. The phrases that work today might sound outdated in 5 years. The humor that resonates in one culture might offend in another. If you stop learning, you risk becoming irrelevant. But if you treat communication as a lifelong skill, you'll always find ways to connect. No matter the audience, no matter the time. The 3 layers of lifelong communication growth. Let's break it down into 3 layers you can focus on for the rest of your life. 1. Self-awareness. You can't improve if you don't know where you stand. Great communicators are brutally honest with themselves. They ask, do people often misunderstand me? Do I dominate conversations without realizing it? Do I truly listen, or do I just wait for my turn to speak? One executive I once met kept a journal of his conversations. After important meetings, he would jot down moments where he felt the energy drop, or where his words had the most impact. Over time, he spotted patterns, phrases that built trust and phrases that caused tension. By becoming aware of his patterns, he was able to replace unhelpful habits with effective ones. 2. Continuous learning. You don't need a degree in communication to get better. The world is full of teachers if you pay attention. Listen to great podcasts. Read books on storytelling, persuasion, and psychology. Watch how skilled speakers engage audiences, both in formal speeches and in casual conversations. A well-known CEO once said that every week he would rewatch his old presentations to identify ways to improve. It's uncomfortable, he admitted, but growth lives in discomfort. And remember, learning isn't just about what you say. It's also about learning from different perspectives, different cultures, and different generations. What works in one setting may not work in another. The more perspectives you understand, the more adaptable your communication becomes. 3. Consistent practice. If you want to run a marathon, you train regularly. If you want to stay fit, you exercise daily. Communication works the same way. Every day gives you opportunities to practice. Ordering coffee, sending an email, sharing an idea in a meeting, giving feedback to a friend. Don't wait for big moments like presentations or job interviews to sharpen your skills. Practice in the small moments so you're ready for the big ones. Turning feedback into your superpower. Here's a secret that separates average communicators from exceptional ones. They seek feedback. Not just the "you did great" type, but honest, constructive feedback. Ask people you trust. Did my message come across clearly? Was my tone right? Did you feel understood? Yes, it's uncomfortable at first, but it's like holding up a mirror. You can't fix what you can't see. The great communicator you admire today likely went through years of feedback, adjustments, and even failures before finding their rhythm. They didn't view criticism as an attack. They saw it as a gift. Why this journey is worth it. When you commit to lifelong growth in communication, here's what happens. You build deeper, more trusting relationships. You inspire others with your words and presence. You can navigate conflict without losing respect. You become the person people turn to in moments that matter. In short, your life expands. And remember, communication is not just about success in business or leadership. It's about being a better friend, partner, parent, neighbor, and human being. From today forward, I want you to see every conversation as a practice session. Don't aim for perfection, aim for connection. At the end of each day, ask yourself, did I truly listen today? Did my words help or harm? What can I try differently tomorrow? Over time, you'll notice something amazing. You'll stop trying to be a good communicator because it will simply become who you are. Here's what I want you to do before this day ends. Pick one person in your life you want to connect with better. Reach out to them, not with an agenda but with genuine curiosity. Ask them about their day. Listen more than you speak. Watch how that simple act can transform your connection. What's one thing you want to improve in your communication starting today? Share it in the comments. I'd love to see your answers. Key takeaway. Being a lifelong communicator means embracing growth as a way of life. You never arrive. You keep evolving, learning, and practicing. And in doing so, you unlock deeper relationships, greater influence, and a life filled with richer connections. If you found this chapter valuable, remember to subscribe, like, and share this audiobook with someone who needs it. The journey of communication is better when we take it together. So here we are at the end of this audiobook. But the truth is, this isn't the end of your journey. In fact, it's only the beginning. Over the past chapters, You've learned that great communication isn't about fancy words or perfect speeches. It's about connection. It's about listening with intention, speaking with clarity, and showing up in a way that makes people feel valued. Now comes the real challenge: taking what you've learned and living it, every day, in every conversation, in every interaction. The conversations you have tomorrow could open doors you never imagined, but only if you use the tools you've gained today. Remember, communication is not a talent you're born with, it's a skill you build. And if you keep building, keep learning, and keep practicing, you won't just be heard, you'll be remembered. I want to leave you with a simple question. Which skill from this audiobook will you start practicing today? Drop your answer in the comments. I'd love to see how you're taking action. If this audiobook has helped you, please subscribe, like, and share it with someone who needs it. The world needs more voices that inspire, connect, and lead with empathy, and yours can be one of them. Keep speaking. Keep listening. Keep growing. Your journey as a communicator has only just begun.